Hey y'all, I'm gonna try something a little different than what I normally do here on social. I'm gonna start this deal. We're gonna call this telling it like it is. So it's just gonna be short stories that from the past, stuff that that's led up to where we are now. I got to give you fair warning. I'll tell it like it is. At any moment, I may have to tend to a crying baby. I may have to tend to a crying adult. You may hear screaming. You may see diaper change. There could be somebody running through this completely bucket naked. I'm sorry if that happens. That's just part of telling it like it is, because it is what it is. This first story I'm gonna tell you about is from early in my career. Of course, this is a fishing story. It is, I wanna say the years like 2009 or so, 2008, 2009. I was not fishing any professional events during that time. I was fishing local tournaments, and I fished back then what was called the EverStart Series. There was, back then, FLW had what was called the FLW Series, and I remember them very well. It was basically events that they had 4 of them, and they had maybe 1 or 2 in the spring and 1 or 2 in the fall. Well, 2 times in a row, the FLW Series came to Clarks Hill, pretty close to my home. I wouldn't say it's my home water, but it's darn near my home water. It's a place that, you know, I spent a lot of time when I was a kid all the way through fishing Clarks Hill. Well, 2008, the FLW Series came to Clarks Hill. I didn't get to fish it. I didn't have the money, number one. It was a $4,000 entry fee. Maybe it was $3,500 back then. $3,500 entry fee. I could not fish it. Didn't have $3,500, and I didn't have enough money to fish it. That's just how it is. Well, at the time I was running my landscaping business back then. I'd just been married a year. We didn't have any kids or anything. Obviously 2008, 2009, you kind of know the state of the economy at that point. We were just kind of starting the uphill climb. It hit its low point and started uphill climb. Just money wasn't really floating around. Wasn't a lot of cash flow. So I was doing maintenance and install at the time in my landscaping business. Maintenance is when you go around and you take care of people's yards, and install is where you actually make a landscape. Somebody builds a house, you put in all the plants, the grass, the irrigation, and so forth. I was still doing both at that time. Well, I had a client, Mr. Ike Eisenzimmer. I know he wouldn't mind me mentioning his name in that. I took care of Mr. Ike's yard, and I also did some installs, and I did like I built a koi pond. I built ponds. I did rock walls. I did just about everything landscaping back in the day. Well, in 2008, the series comes to Clarks Hill. Billy, I don't get to fish it. And when the tournament was over, they had a press release, and they posted that in our local newspaper, the guy that won it. I don't even remember who won it at the time, but it was the guy who won it. He posted it in the newspaper. Mr. Ike sees that there was a $100,000 tournament right here at home at Clarks Hill. He says, "Hey Brian, you know why didn't you fish? Why didn't you fish for this $100,000 tournament right here at the house? I see there was a big tournament here. Why didn't you get into it?" And, you know, I'm like, "Yeah, Mr. Ike, yeah, the series, it's a big event. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the $3,500 to enter the tournament, so I didn't get to fish it." So Mr. Ike, he hears my story. I wasn't trying to sob story him into anything, but I was just telling the truth. You know, like, I don't have $3,500 to fish this tournament. So Mr. Ike goes, "You didn't have $3,500? He goes, "I got money. Like, you should have told me." And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, buddy, if you want to give somebody $3,500, I know somebody good, buddy. I know somebody that needs the $3,500. So, long story short, the series, the schedule comes out in the fall. Guess where the series is going in 2009? Back to Clarks Hill. So as soon as I found that out, I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Ike, series is going back to Clarks Hill. You said you'd give me $3,500 to fish it." Sure as the world, Mr. Ike gives me $3,500 to fish the series on Clarks Hill. Now this was contingent. I had to take care of his property for the, all year, but really and truly taking care of his property was probably like a $2,000 deal for the year. So, he kind of gave me $3,500. He kind of fronted me. He did me a title loan, basically. Mr. Ike gave me a title loan. I got to register for the series on Clarks Hill. Long story short, Mr. Ike gave me my $3,500 in advance because I didn't have that kind of money at that time, right? Well, all summer, you can ask my brother this, from if they announced the schedule in November or whenever it was, when I tell you I practiced on Clarks Hill, I made up in my mind that I had a big tournament coming and I was going to, if there was anybody that practiced on that body of water, it was going to be me. I was going to know every nook and cranny. I put in so much work. I spent every weekend, every rainy day. I spent as much time possible fishing Clarks Hill Lake. I learned it. I idled. I found drop-offs. I found places I didn't know about. I fished and fished and fished. I practiced for this tournament, this $3,500 tournament, for at least 6 months. I put in my time. If I wasn't on the lake 2 days a week, I was there at least 2 days a week, at least a Friday and a Saturday. At times I was there, 3 or 4 times a week. So I put in my time. I worked so hard. I made up in my mind. You got to remember, at this time, even a $10,000 check would set a brother free. When you ain't got no money, that doesn't seem like a lot of money. And I know people get into, oh, well, by the time you do this, it's just not that much money. Listen, when you are broke, you don't have no money, $10,000 will set you to flight, buddy. So long story short, I practice all summer for this tournament. Tournament rolls around. It's in the fall time of the year when fishing is about as bad as it could ever be on Clarks Hill Lake. And tournament rolls around. Sure as a world, fishing sucks. Anybody from my area of the country know how Clarks Hill fishes in October, September, October. It's terrible. It's bad. You can't catch squat. It don't matter who you are. KVD can't catch them on Clarks Hill in the fall. It's real bad. First day of tournament rolls around. Good buddy, I weigh in like 8.5 pounds and sitting in like 40-something place. I'm happy. Dude, I'm so happy. Found him off a place that I'd found in all those months of practice, not days, months of practice. I found this one drop off. I never fished deep, ever. I caught these fish like 18, 20 foot deep on a drop way up the river. Found them on that place. Caught my 8.5 pounds there, sitting in like 40-something, looking good. I'm gonna get this $10,000 check. Day 2 rolls around. All right, everybody knows fishing is always a little bit tougher on day 2, right? Day 2 rolls around and I weigh in another 7.5 pounds. Weight dropped a little bit, but I move up. I don't remember exactly where I was, but I go into day 2. After I weigh on day 2, my 7.5 pounds, now I'm up in the 20s because the weights dropped off real bad. We had a storm, a front came through, and we had a thunderstorm. It made fishing even worse. I weighed in 7.5 pounds in a different area. I ended up having to go somewhere else to catch my fish on day 2, flipping and throwing the spinner bait up shallow, doing normal stuff. Well, back then, it was full competition for 3 days, all right? So I ain't out of the woods yet. $10,000 to set me free, but I hadn't quite got there yet because I got one more day of competition. It's 3 days full competition, top 10 on day 4. Take off, I'm feeling so good, bro. Like I can feel that wad of $10,000 in my wallet. I'm ready to pay off this boat. Back then I had a 12-year loan on a boat. I was only like 25, 26 years old at the point. 12-year loan on the boat. I'm thinking about all the stuff I'm gonna pay off and how that's gonna give me enough money to fish the tour the next year or fish the EverStarts. Like this $10,000 that I'm about to cash, never mind winning the $100,000. $10,000 is gonna set me free at this point. So go out on day 3. Obviously, we had another front come through on day 3 of the tournament. It got a little cold. Had some thunderstorms that morning. It rained quite a bit that day. Actually, it rained all day on day 3. I ride up through there. Good buddy ain't even got a good rain suit. Good buddy is me, by the way. I don't even have a good rain suit at this point. So as I'm riding down the lake, I am sopping wet. It's like 50 degrees. I'm wet. I mean, I'm wet in places I ain't never knew I had. It took me 2 weeks to dry out after this tournament. Get up to my first spot, I don't catch fish. My little deep hole. I run all the way back up the river to where I caught them on day 2, throwing my spinnerbait, floating worm, and doing all that good old school stuff I love to do. Don't catch them still. So I'm like, well, dang. You know, I gotta do something. I keep moving around, punching around, sticking and moving. Dude, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. Fast forward through the day, go to weigh in, I don't catch a single keeper. That day, my co-angler caught about 12 pounds out of the back of the boat. Wasn't like I wasn't around them. They wasn't getting on my cricket that day. I don't know what it was. I zeroed. One of the only 2 times since I've been fishing tournaments that I zeroed on day 3, $10,000, gone. I don't get my $10,000 check. All of that work, 6 months of work, you know, a lot of stress. Like, I've been waiting on this one opportunity to have a chance to fish a big tournament on my home water, somewhere that I know. A lot of guys' careers start off when they win on a body of water that they know. I finally got that opportunity. I finally got my at bat. I finally got to swing the bat. Day 3, I strike out, I zero. Devastating. This is one of the only times, there's 2 times since I've started fishing that I have mentally at least threw in the towel and said, I quit. I don't want to do it no more. Just finish. I don't want to do this no more. It hurt me so bad because I practiced so long and I waited so long and I finally got everything that I needed. I was like, I finally got the money. I got the boat. I'm in the tournament. It's on my home water. Everything seemed to be perfect. I get my at bat and I whiffed. Zeroed. I wanted to quit. I was so devastated. I was depressed for a week. After that tournament, I stayed in my house. I quarantined myself. Nobody had to quarantine me. I stayed in my house for a week. I cried, I sobbed. I was really depressed about that because I really thought I was about to be set free. And I didn't make it. I didn't. Shortly after that, I got really serious about music. I started really pursuing trying to play the bass guitar, like seriously, you know, like as income. And I never could shake it. I remember it like this. I'll never forget it. One November, I went fishing with one of the band members I was playing with, Catlin Owen. He doesn't even know this. He has no idea about the story. He'll probably hear the story. I went fishing with Catlin about 3 hours one day on Lake Hartwell. Caught him pretty decent, not okay, you know, not good, but okay. And it's like it struck a match. It's like, dude, this is where you're supposed to be. And I never turned around since then. It was only 2 other times, another time before. This is one of the only 2 times ever that I quit bass fishing, was after that tournament in the series. Listen, if you're thinking about quitting, that's actually perfectly normal. I went through quitting too. I run around and I hoop and I holler and I talk about how adversity is dope and you gotta get after it. I quit too. So if you ever quitted, I think that's right. If you've ever quit, or if you ever thought about quitting, it's completely normal. Give yourself some time. Be patient with yourself. You're gonna fail. I failed 1,000 times. That's just one. This is just one story out of many. You can still make it. If you quit, go ahead and quit for a little while. Maybe it actually helped me. I quit for about 10 months. I didn't fish. I didn't wet a hook. I didn't fish a tournament. I still won on a major level after that. It took me about 11 more years to get there, but it still happened. That's my first telling it like it is. Hope y'all enjoyed that.